and the Sacramento Kings have 2 All-Stars and are 16 games above 500.
A few moments later.
We'll have the biggest road win of the playoffs as Curry lays it up and in. A 50-point Game 7 for Steph Curry.
It's been more than 2 years since I've seen Stephen Curry drop a 50-piece on the Kings, and I felt a lot of pain that night, a lot of frustration, just a lot of bad emotions. And still, it will never amount to the emotions I feel after watching the Sacramento Kings play basketball in today's age. Why is Russell Westbrook our best player? Why does Doug Christie think that this team is actually good in any capacity? And why is Keon Ellis not playing any minutes? What is this team? Hold up, I need to calm down. Just need to take a quick, deep breath and get back into this video. Recently, I've been thinking to myself, will this organization we call the Sacramento Kings ever be decent at the sport of basketball? And then I thought even further to myself, has this team ever even been good at basketball? Well, there actually was a time. There was a time in the not so far past that the Kings actually had a chance and had the league best odds to win a championship. On May 31st, 2002, the Sacramento Kings had a league best 61 regular season wins, were in the Western Conference Finals, and were up 3-2 against the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. Even better than being up 3-2, the Kings were coming off a game winner from Mike Bibby that was pure butter, Coke buttered cheese. Look at this shot. So you may be wondering what happened in Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals. Well, I'll tell you. The Sacramento Kings in 2002 participated against the Los Angeles Lakers in what was the worst officiated game of all time. This game genuinely had a felon, former disgraced NBA referee Tim Donaghy talk about how it was in the league's best interest to extend the game that night, and the referees were on board and planned to extend the series into 7 games. If you look at some of these calls, they are straight outlandish. In the 4th quarter alone of this game, the Lakers took 20 plus free throws. If you look at some of the faces that the Sacramento Kings made after these calls, you can see nothing but utter disbelief on their face. You see them laughing. This is the biggest game of their career, and they gotta straight up just laugh at some of these calls that are made. None though was worse than what ended the game, which was an inbounds play in which Mike Bibby gets straight up elbowed into the face by Kobe Bryant, where his nose is bleeding and he doesn't get called for an offensive foul. Instead, it was a foul on Mike Bibby. But enough talking about Game 6. The Lakers went on to win it, and it's whatever. Let's move on to Game 7. In Game 7, at home in Sacramento, the Kings eventually fall to the Lakers in overtime in a historic duel. That was kind of a choke job because Peja Stojakovic had an open 3 to take the series, and he airballed it. But guys, it's alright, because the locker room actually felt that this wasn't even the year they were supposed to win the NBA championship anyways, and they had a way better shot with more experience to win it the next year. And then in Game 2 of the 2003 Western Conference semifinals against the Dallas Mavericks, Chris Webber tears his meniscus. And there were no more shots after that, nothing but mediocre playoff appearances until 2006, which then promptly ushered in the first of many years where the Sacramento Kings did not make the playoffs. Then you fast forward 4 playoff-less years and you get to the year of 2010. And then we had to rely on DeMarcus Cousins to bring us to the promised land. And we never got DeMarcus Cousins any sort of useful help besides Rudy Gay. And we had Isaiah Thomas on our team, and what did we do with him? We let him walk for absolutely nothing after we took him with the gem of a 60th pick in the NBA draft. Season after season, miss pick after miss pick, it started coming to a point where the Kings were getting ready to sell the entire franchise and move away. But luckily, that did not happen, as the Kings were able to find investors to keep the team in Sacramento, and the majority owner of the team, after all of this was said and done, was now Vivek Ranadive. Man, I'm so glad Vivek came to save the day and keep the Kings in Sacramento. Surely he did nothing but sign bills and just, hire people that he thought were good for the team. Not even a year into Vivek being the majority owner of the Kings, he was already out there doing some BS. This guy proposed that we should be playing 4-on-5 basketball with one person dedicated to cherry picking on the other end. Now, if we fast forward 3 more playoffless years, we get a major event in Kings history with DeMarcus Cousins being traded in 2017. And you may be wondering what the haul was for such a superstar player like DeMarcus Cousins. Well, I'll tell you. DeMarcus Boogie Cousins got traded for an oil change and unreleased DDG. My superstar player for half a decade got traded out of nowhere for straight booty. And you want to know what Vivek thought about this trade? Well, he thought that Buddy Hield, who he got in return, was going to be the next Stephen Wardell Curry. Hey man, it's straight crazy how some things work out, ain't it? Since we made such a drastic decision, Surely we had our pick, knowing that we were going to be straight ass after we traded DeMarcus Cousins, right? How do I tell you? The Kings in 2017 got absurdly lucky, as they only had the 8th highest odds, and if the pick went 10 or below, they would have had to give it to Chicago. Luckily, they jumped all the way up to number 3, but because of some stipulation, they ended up with the 5th pick instead. And they used it to draft a Kentucky guard named De'Aaron Fox, which ushered in a brand new era of Kings basketball. De'Aaron Fox's rookie season wasn't much to write home about at all, as the team was awful and De'Aaron Fox came off the bench, so you didn't even get to watch him play basketball all too much. But he made all-rookie second team, and the team was just awful enough to win them the 2nd pick in the lottery. And you won't believe what we did with that pick. Yeah, we drafted Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic because our GM didn't like Luka Doncic's dad. But dare I say that the team in 2019 wasn't all too bad. I mean, we went from being one of the worst teams in the league to competing for the playoffs. And I mean, we lost the playoff race by like 8 games, but almost every team that season won 50 games, so you can't be too mad at us. Not to mention, De'Aaron Fox looked great. He was averaging 17 and 7 in his sophomore season, and Marvin Bagley was looking like a competent player that could really grow into something special. Our coach Dave Yeager was getting these young guys running and really just playing a fast pace that suited De'Aaron Fox's needs. And this team really looked like they had an identity. They were going somewhere, they were building. But then, everything changed when Luke Walton attacked. For some reason, after having our best team in a decade plus, we decided to fire the coach that was at the head of it all. And you know who we replaced him for? We replaced him for Luke Walton, who coached the Lakers in the year prior and was able to somehow make LeBron miss the playoffs. Despite all of this basketball malpractice that was brewing in the background, the Kings were actually somehow able to catch a break in the 2020 NBA draft, as with the 12th pick, they were able to select Tyrese Haliburton because every other team in the NBA draft, besides like the Timberwolves, went brain dead and didn't pick Haliburton even though he was projected like top 5. He slid to us all the way at 12. I kid you not, watching this live, I was straight ecstatic. The Kings in 2020 though, after the coaching change, were absolutely awful. Marvin Bagley fell off a cliff. Our offense sucked. Our defense sucked. De'Aaron Fox got an injury that sucked. Everything about this season sucked besides one bright spot, which was our draft pick of Tyrese Haliburton. When De'Aaron Fox was out, Tyrese Haliburton kept stepping up in a major way and was playing some great basketball with some great stat lines, and he was really a player that everyone loved. He got everyone involved. He could shoot the ball even though he has an ugly ass jumper, and worst of all, he genuinely loved playing for the city of Sacramento. But there was a lot of pressure in the Kings organization. After the 2021 NBA season, which was Haliburton's rookie year, it was now the 2022 season. And that means that if the Kings didn't make the playoffs this year, they would now own the largest playoff drought in North American sports history. Well, longest active drought. But still, it was do or die. And Monte McNair, feeling the pressure from Vivek to make the playoffs, felt that the only way to save his job was to trade Tyrese Haliburton for an established star. And he did just that at the deadline, trading Tyrese Haliburton for Domantas Sabonis. Still can't believe this is a real trade made to this day. But anyways, moving forward, I guess we got Domantas Sabonis and we finally got 2 stars in Sacramento, which means that maybe we were building towards something. Maybe Monte McNair had a vision that none of us could see just yet. Truly, we just had to let it marinate and see what Monte McNair was cooking. De'Aaron Fox looked extremely happy after getting a new star in Sacramento, but this season was already a wash as we were losing a bunch of games and there was probably no way we could win enough games to make the playoffs at this point. So 2023 was the season we were really going to do something if we could. When we finally started building a real and confident team and making decisions that actually benefited the team in good ways, things started happening. Good things. Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox became all-stars, Keegan Murray was breaking 3-point records for rookies, and Malik Monk was looking like the best 6th man in the entire NBA. And at the helm of it all was Mike Brown, who led the greatest offense in NBA history for that season, and the Kings finished 3rd in the Western Conference. And I really don't gotta explain what happens after that. What I do gotta address though is the clear flaws that this 2023 Beam season Kings team had, and they had a lot of them. First one being, this team had absolutely zero defense on the roster. Domantas Sabonis was the one that was guarding our paint, and he was straight barbecue chicken out there. Other bigs were feasting, and he offered no rim protection for anything. Other than having no defense on our roster, the other glaring issue was that we had absolutely zero wings on the team besides Keegan Murray. Surely these issues would be addressed in the upcoming season so that we could make the team better than it was before. Who's gonna tell them? Yeah, the Kings did absolutely no trades and made no offseason signings and kept the same exact team they had the year prior. When everybody else in the West got better, we got the exact same. The only bright spot to the Kings this season was that the fact they were in playoff contention for most of it, and the fact we had an emerging player in Keon Ellis. But still, nonetheless, the Kings were the 9th seed this year and had to compete in the play-in. And in the first game, this dude Keon Ellis absolutely locked down Klay Thompson. We found a tweet of him on the timeline talking about how ass Klay Thompson is like 10 years ago, and it was a full circle moment. We beat the team that eliminated us the year prior, but then the next game, we got beat by the Pelicans and knocked out of playoff contention. But it's alright, because surely now the team sees the issues that we need a wing, we need more defense, and overall, this roster needs to be tweaked a little bit to be better than it was before and truly have success within the playoffs. Nope, actually this was the worst season of my life. When our team needed defense, you want to know who we got? We got known ISO ball enjoyer DeMar DeRozan. And don't get me wrong, I love DeMar DeRozan. I love watching the Raptors in the 2010s. But why would DeMar DeRozan fix my team in 2025? He doesn't play no defense. He can't shoot the ball. What does he do besides ISO and take a midi at the end of the shot clock in every possession that he's in? Like, don't get me wrong, he's tough. He got bag work, but this is not the guy we needed for this team. We just picked him up so that we could say we did something. But let me chill. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's visit the Kings' disastrous 2025 season and see how it led them to modern day. Somehow we convinced Malik Monk to take a salary cut to join our roster. Don't know how we convinced him to do that, but we did it. And other than that, all we did was sign DeMar DeRozan, like I mentioned before. Fast forward, and it's December 12th against the New Orleans Pelicans, and we just beat them in a tightly contested game where we won by just 2 points, and the record on our season so far was 13-13. A 500 record, and they have a lot of time to get right in this season. So, what happens next? Well, the Kings go on an awful 4-game losing streak, including a heartbreaking loss against the Indiana Pacers where we got ran out of the gym and lost by 30 points. I remember really thinking to myself, wow, this gotta be the worst Kings game of the season. But I did not know what was about to happen next. On December 26, 2024, I attended the Sacramento Kings versus the Detroit Pistons, and it was a game where we had it in the bag. We were up 20 points with a minute left in the third quarter. Then we somehow let the Pistons come all the way back, and they were only down 3 with 8 seconds left. But still, this is a game we should easily win. There's no way we let this team hit a 3, right? Nah. Even worse, we let them hit an and 1 3 for the game on us. I know we know the shot heard around the world was the first shot in the Revolutionary War, but my shot heard around the world was this Jaden Ivey and 1 3, which led to Mike Brown getting fired the next morning, which also led to De'Aaron Fox wanting out of the organization and not wanting to stay long term, which led to us getting Zach LaVine. This shot genuinely ruined my life, bro. This game capped off a 5-game losing streak, and Mike Brown was fired in the morning, which led to De'Aaron Fox not wanting to stay with this organization anymore because this was like the 18th head coach he had in 6 years, and he just wasn't going to sit through it no more, which is justified. With De'Aaron Fox wanting out, it was clear that we saw the writing on the wall, and it was time for yet another rebuild. And that's exactly what the Sacramento Kings did. Nah, I'm just playing. You think the Sacramento Kings would actually make a coherent decision? They say, who cares about whatever trade value De'Aaron Fox has? Let's trade for Zach LaVine and try to run it back, knowing that Zach LaVine has the worst contract in the National Basketball Association. But yeah, fast forward to the end of the season, and who would have guessed it? We lost in the play-in yet again, and we recreated the Chicago Bulls, but Western Conference version. What a great season. Add on to that disastrous, horrible season, news of Vivek Ranadive's daughter dating Jeremy Lamb, and him somehow having power to influence things within the organization, and you have yourself the worst season of all time. And yes, in case you're wondering, it is that Jeremy Lamb that hit that one game winner years ago for the Raptors from half court. Oh, and to add on to it for good measure, a Kings G League player for the Stockton Kings committed murder. And guess who was also romantically involved with him? Genuinely the worst season of all time. Vivek Ranadive cares so much more about selling a few more seats in the arena that he took the worst contract in the National Basketball Association, Zach LaVine, instead of just throwing in the towel and rebuilding, because he doesn't care what basketball product is out there on the floor. All he cares about is that this team is serviceable enough to maybe make the playoffs, most likely make the play-in, and sell a few more seats because the team is somewhat decent and we haven't had a decent team in years. Fast forward to this offseason and we signed Russell Westbrook and Dennis Schroeder, and we have nothing on the floor that I really care to watch. This team is awful. Even in our darkest moments, we had homegrown talent. We had people we drafted that I cared to see play basketball on the floor, and I cared to see them grow because I thought maybe one day we will have a team that can grow into a contender. But now, we don't even have that. All we have on the floor is greed. Whenever I watch the Sacramento Kings, all I can think about is our management who care nothing more than to make money. They don't see all the fans that sit in these seats as fans. They don't see people who have been coming for decades plus to watch this team maybe win some games. They don't care about fans that stuck with them through thick and thin. All they see is seats and all they see is currency. So with all of that being said, I think I'm done. I think I'm finally done supporting this team, and I'm going to support a team that actually cares about their fans. Wait, you said what? The Sacramento Kings are looking to rebuild? I used to pray for times like this. I can't wait for our 10th rebuild in 20 years. I'm so back, man. Play my song, man.